Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Today we are reviewing Jagaaan volumes 1 and 2, as you guys can see right here. Now, this is written by Kaneshiro Muneyuki and illustrated by Kensuke Nishida. Oops, let me do it like this. And the publisher here is Panini Manga Mexico. So this is not available in English. This is a title I picked up over the summer when I went to visit my family in Mexico. And as far as I know, there is no plans to make this available in English. Jagaaan is close to finishing in Japan. I think it's almost finished, actually. And I think it's up to 12 volumes. So I don't know the likelihood of it getting brought over to the US. But it is an interesting story. So the demographic here is seinen, as best as I can tell. And the genres here are drama, horror, action. There's an element of supernatural here, but I would definitely say that the supernatural aspect is because of science fiction. It's kind of interesting like that. I don't know. I guess you wouldn't really classify this as a science fiction story generally, but I'm pretty sure the reason why the story happens is because of aliens. So this is a sci-fi story, okay? Cool. So this currently does not have an adaptation. If it did get one, it would probably be something similar to how Gantz got an adaptation in a 3D CGI kind of style. But I'm not too sure. So yeah, the premise here is basically that this depressed guy, this guy right here, is going through life, just kind of going through the motions. He's not really happy, even though by all kind of general measures of, you know, success and stuff like that, he would be a relatively happy guy. I mean, he's got a beautiful girlfriend that he's probably going to marry soon. He has a nice stable job that doesn't require him to do too much work, that still kind of maintains his lifestyle, and generally he's fine. He's just depressed, and this depression makes everything around his life kind of horribly boring and kind of just not compelling for him to want to continue, right? But then these weird frogs fall from the sky. And then these frogs go into people, and out of these people's dreams and traumas and, you know, their feelings on the inside, create monsters. And now our character here has been tasked with eliminating, hunting them down, and getting rid of this kind of horror to humanity, this kind of thing that is threatening the world. And he kind of explores his sadness along the way and kind of realizes that maybe this is exactly what he needed to be happy, which is kind of an interesting, compelling, and kind of really messed up way of looking at life. But it is a good story, so I definitely recommend you guys pick this up. So the plotline here is kind of slow at the beginning. By the end of the first volume, I wasn't really super engaged with it. I mean, I thought it was interesting and I liked the artwork, but I wasn't really sure that the plot line was really there for me just yet. So it did, I think, take its time to get interesting, but once it did, it was really kind of compelling. So basically it takes its time because the main character doesn't know what's going on. So we and the main character both are lost and not sure what is going on. And I think by the end of volume 2, we still aren't sure, or we're still finding more things out, but we at least have a concrete kind of idea about our main character and what he, Doku, the owl, and all of the other metamorphics are kind of trying to do. And yeah, so basically it's set up as a monster of the week kind of thing. Each chapter has a different monster, and each chapter kind of then explores our character's sadness, Yagasaki's sadness, and kind of his personal development and growth, as well as exposition for the story and the lore of it here. But yeah, very good. It's a kind of monster and gun kind of thing. Like, main character hunts the monsters with his own monster power, which happens to be this gun that forms out of his fingers, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, generally the plotline is kind of interesting. Like I said, it's just a race against the clock to finish off all of these monsters, and it's pretty good. It's not particularly complex, but it is well done. Characters-wise, we have Shintaro Yagasaki, who is our depressed, bored of life main character, who kind of reinvigorates his interest in life through this kind of heroic path that he takes. And heroic is in quotation marks. It's not really heroic, but it is kind of interesting. And he technically is saving the world along the way. So very interesting character, very complex way of looking at depression and looking at getting out of depression. And I wouldn't really say this is a healthy kind of mentality in the character, but he is used as an exploration of this kind of difficulty of life that so many of us face. And so it was actually quite interesting, very well done. I do like Yagasaki quite a bit. We have Doku, which is an owl that can speak. He kind of looks like the Duolingo owl, which is really, really funny. Because the Duolingo owl, if you have it on your phone and you use it and you stop using it, it like pops up and kind of asks you to get back on it. And it's kind of a little bit threatening and kind of funny. And the fact that Doku shows up and he kind of has the same kind of vibe is really funny. I think it's really cute. But also very creepy. So I like Doku the owl a lot. And I know that's a really weird association, but it is good. I like him quite a bit. And then we have Belle, who is this female cop that is that works with Yagasaki, who initially seems to be really like mean and not willing to interact with anyone, but in the later volume, she kind of starts to get into Yagasaki, and we kind of get this interesting kind of development here with her. And we have a few other characters that are kind of interesting. There's this other metamorphic that is like Yagasaki, who has a tree power. His arm turns into a tree, which is kind of interesting. And we have this eagle kind of character who is kind of like Doku, but a bit more knowledgeable of stuff, a little bit bigger, a little bit older, as far as we can tell, and who is also kind of interesting. So there's a lot going on here. It's kind of cool and just well established. I like how the characters interact. This is primarily just about Yagasaki, but all of the secondary characters provide something for him. Yagasaki also has a girlfriend, but stuff happens that I don't want to kind of talk about that is kind of interesting. But we'll leave it at that. World building wise, I think it's insane. Nothing is super clear yet, but there's a lot of like defined aspects to the story. Essentially, the frogs invade people's bodies, take them over, and then turn them into monsters just because. If a frog isn't grown yet, if it's a tadpole, and it infects someone, it takes its time and allows the person to maintain their humanity and also have access to these monster powers. And so far we know of 2 characters that do this. Only one monster can hurt another, and so people, like normal people, can't really do anything against these monsters. And so far Japan is kind of like keeping a lid on it, so no one really knows what's going on. But there's this underground website that kind of has information on it. So kind of cool, very interesting stuff. And the metamorphics are people that get infected. And this is a translation based on what the Spanish word is for this phenomenon. I don't actually know what it would be called in English, but it probably wouldn't be something very different. So there you go. You could kind of call them changelings if you want to. It's basically the same thing. But they're basically these people that have very specific dreams or kind of specific aspects of their life that they like, that they feel is threatened, and then transform into these monsters. And so we basically pit one dream against another. And the reason Yagasaki has a gun power is because his dream, or the reason for living, was because he wanted to be able to shoot his gun. But we also see that that's not actually the case later on, and we kind of get the development of this character. It was very well done. But yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff here going on. I think it's very interesting. I want to know where Doku and the eagle guy come from. I want to know why the frogs fell from the sky. And generally, there's quite a few things that we still need to figure out. So very well done with the world building here. Art-wise, I think it's crazy. It's very, very cool. But it has a lot of elements of body horror. Here you go. Let's see. There you go. Here's another one. it's super duper creepy. But generally very, very cool. So it's good. Now, fan service wise, there is some fan service, but there's also some stuff that like is really messed up in like the same area of things. There's like some sexual violence, there's a lot of gore and a lot of stuff, and then there's also actual like very irrelevant fan service, like hot chicks being hot, and like, you know, boobs and stuff. So it's very heavy. The content of this book is tough. Fan service is not very common and very minimal, but when it does happen, it happens and it's quite visible. But I don't know, it's not really positive or negative because the fan service itself is very irrelevant, but there's quite a bit more stuff that kind of is like of a similar sexual nature that is also very, very messed up and very like negative. So I don't know, if you're squeamish at all about anything like that, this is definitely not a book for you. I would not recommend it at all. But if you don't really mind, or if you're tolerant of those things, definitely read this. Rating wise, it's a 4 out of 5. I think it's quite good, very good. It's slow but good. It does take its time to get built up to the right kind of mentality, or to the right kind of amount of momentum before you can kind of enjoy it very well. But it is very interesting, so I definitely recommend it if you like stuff like this. Similar titles, I got a few. Chainsaw Man, in terms of how these monsters come about. In Chainsaw Man, it's based on the fears of humans. In this case, it's based on an emotion that is kind of opposite, which is the positive dreams of humans. Well, they're not necessarily positive, but generally dreams are positive things. So there you go. We also have Gantz, which is kind of similar because our main character is tasked with an impossible, task to do, and at the end of it, he gets a wish granted to him if he manages to complete it, right? And we also can say that it's similar to Gleipnir in the fact that there's people that have some supernatural element to them that allows them to turn into these monsters, creatures, other worldly beings, right? So if you like any of those three, Chainsaw Man, Gantz, or Gleipnir, you'll probably enjoy this. However, I do want to say that this is a lot harder hitting, a lot faster than either of those, or than any of those three. So I don't know, if you're not really interested in something like kind of messed up mentally, kind of stay away from this. But I think that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you guys like what I do and also want to support me, I did just start a coffee recently, and it's down in the description, so please do check it out. I probably will stop promoting it relatively soon, but there you go. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, like I said, and I really do appreciate it. So see you guys later.